You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So I guess the note that I should give everyone today is don't ever eat your sub sandwich that's been sitting in the outer office for like an hour and a half because you've been on the air talking about James Gunn ruining your life. Especially if that sandwich was supposed to be hot and now it's cold. You will wind up starting your show late. I'm just throwing that out there. This is In Stores This Week.
Oh.
Welcome to In Stores This Week, everybody. Apparently, Dan didn't study at the Jim Henson School of Puppetry, or he'd be able to do this a little more accurately.
Wait, I think I have a cold. I never thought I was good at this.
You're right, Ed. The likeness is uncanny. Especially once I get my hat that Dan is working on. So
the next thing on my list, I'm finishing the scarf and then the hat.
Yeah. Whenever Dan's done with it. But yes, it's a very good likeness of me. Especially as I'm not feeling well, someone is going to have to carry the weight. So, I read everything before the James Gunn news happened. I'm not sure I'm going to remember any of the books. But we're going to try it.
Should we just talk about James Gunn for an hour instead?
I've done that 2.5 hours today.
Dan and I've already done enough of that today. And I'm sure I'm going to have a phone call the second I get off the air tonight from someone else wanting to talk about it. So
no kidding.
It's going to wind up being my whole day has been James Gunn.
I took a quick break between my show and this show. Walked out. My nephew's like, "Did you hear about James Gunn?"
Do you know who I am?
At this point, my answer to that question would be, what, was he in a car accident? Like, because at this point I know what size underwear the man wears. What else have I not heard?
I just want a video of him coming out later today going, "Just kidding. Go watch Guardians." And that's it.
That would be great. Although I did just repost the video that we used during the Dan Wickline show on the Experiences TikTok. So if you didn't get to see that video, go watch the TikTok. Okay. It's In Stores This Week, where we talk about books that are in stores this week. And not movies that are coming out in 2 years. So let's get started. We'll start with the Phoenix Files. I will start with this book. I looked at the cover, looked at the title, and went, nope. And then I read the first page and went, still nope, but the art's decent, so I'll keep going. That is the end of my review.
We're on opposite ends. I thought the art was but I struggled through it because the story seemed okay. But that also comes from the fact that I'm extremely fascinated with phoenixes and just the lore and the legend of them to begin with. So I wanted to see how they used it. Yeah. Still, wasn't there for me on this one.
Imagine if Nick Fury was on the spaceship with Reed Richards instead of Johnny Storm.
Man.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell they're doing over there anymore at Zenescope. It's it's a male-led book, which is rare for Zenescope from that point of view. But it's a character that I guess has been around, but not that I remember. But of course, just in case Jay was catching his breath and was like, "Okay, this is good. Then they put in the deep ones just so they couldn't forget about the Lovecraft stuff.
Oh,
So I don't review books anymore. I just review Jay. I
You know
know
that-
what Jay's thinking when I read comics now. I know what's going to upset him. So,
uncanny, Dan. That is uncanny. I was gonna start this off being like, hey, let Jay be the Kal-El, the Superman, the beacon of hope for this one for just a little bit. But you're pretty much nailed it. I started out, I was like, for me, I was like, new character who's like Shaft, Blade, and Pyro from X-Men all in one. Um, and I think this is spun off from Red Agent, which I don't know a whole lot about Red Agent, but the story started out not not bad. I've been waiting for Zenoscope to do something a little different, and this is one of those where yes, Red Agent is in it, but she's not in it for like the majority of the story. Um, man, I was right there with it until the very end, and wouldn't you know it? Spoiler alert: fish people. Why? Just
You just can't win, can you, Jay?
God, no. Fish people are Cthulhu. Like, started off, but no thanks. Started off good, but no thanks.
yeah, you didn't realize that Zenoscope is now sponsored by H Salt Fish and Chips.
Gotta be.
I was going to say that Zenoscope is now sponsored by Old Bay.
With Gorton's.
Yeah, the Gorton. Yeah. You're going to have the next thing you know, you're going to have, one of the ladies on the cover, like in a sexy yellow coat with a hat, like the Orcas fisherman. Like,
Nice.
all right. Up next,
The
we had.
newest book from Zenoscope. This is Paul.
Right. Up next, we had Breath of Shadows. And I have a thing about tentacles and multiple legs, and like the thing I like the least in the world is a centipede or a millipede. And on like the third page, we get like a centipede or millipede, like a bunch of legs. And I'm like, you know what? I'm terrified. You've done your job, but I'm done reading. So it took me a while to finish reading this book. But overall, I thought it was a pretty good story. And Jay and I are of the same thought process on this. The creative team are people we're big fans of. So willing to continue to give it a shot, even though this first book made every inch of my skin crawl.
Well, Kyle, in that case, you want to stay away from hentai.
You do want to stay away from hentai.
Yes. If you're not a fan of tentacles, just skip hentai altogether. I gotta say, the first couple of pages of this book, I didn't care about. I just was like, I don't even know what they're doing here. And then we got to a story that I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. Then we get back to the creature, the tentacle thing, and it's not so much that they bothered me, but I don't even know why they're there. What's the point of them? Is it like this bizarre way of showing addiction? It's like, are they supposed to be something? But yeah, JD, you go ahead and HENT. So I think it's a good story. I was actually really starting to get into it, but every time we got to that, it's like if you're just showing addiction, then there's got to be a better way to do it. And if these creatures are real, then what the hell?
I agree.
Sean, you go ahead, man. I'll go last.
So this was really a convoluted story for me. Like the first, 3 pages where it's just him doing the deal. I'm like, what in the world is happening? And then they finally kind of come out of it. I'm like, that is a really odd way to show addiction. And even now, with where the story went in the book itself, I'm like, so are we going to run into this in the next issue when they're find whatever it is they're looking for? it's one of those, like, I feel like the premise is good. I'm just not sure how well they executed trying to give you the actual premise of the story in this issue. So I actually don't know this particular writer very well, but I'm willing to give the second issue a chance to see if they can clear up my questions from this issue.
I just was thinking about, there was an old football comment where they asked a coach, what did you think about the offense's execution? And his response is, I think it's a good idea. I was just thinking, what do you think of the creative team's execution?
Right. I love Alex Cormack, by the way. He's drawn books that my friends have made. Great artist. Please stop drawing things that are going to give me nightmares, Alex Cormack.
Never ever stop. I'm very familiar with Rich Duick and Alex Cormack from their work on Comic Stripe books. They do a lot of Comic Stripe books, really good stuff. And Justin Birch is just a top notch letterer himself. So when I saw this team was together on this, I was like, this is gonna be a trippy book. I already knew it was gonna be a trippy book. And it definitely is. It takes the tropey drug abusing rock star story and it just cranks it up to some nightmarish levels. Like what our main character Jimmy sees feels more like it's a warning of things to come. Like it's not just hallucinations. Like the book is warning us beforehand. Hey, this stuff is going to happen. But I thought it was a good opening issue. Like I said, if any combo of this team, if this is the first time you've read anything from them, you're in for a wild ride. This team is great.
Which Comic Stripe book was it?
Oh my goodness! I think we got Wailing Blade. There's a couple of them, dude. Okay. We got a lot of Comic Stripe books. I'm pretty sure Alex Cormack has done the art for most of them.
Let's see. He did Happy Hill.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
I just want to ask Alex, if you're out there, who hurt you?
And why do you want to hurt Kyle?
Oh, that's right. This works so good.
I don't think it's Rich. I think it's Alex. Alex Cormack also did from Red Stylo comics Crossing.
Oh, okay.
So I've worked with Alex a little bit. All right. So Immortal Red Sonja number 10.
This really felt like a supper's ready ending to me. Because we've been building up to this. We got 10 issues of this series. We're coming to this is the end of it. And it really just kind of felt like, okay, we're ended. Oh, let's do a tack on at the end just to. It's like, really? It just seems like. It's like we got this high-speed engine and it just went. It just came to an end. You know, and I've really been loving this series, and I love how it ties into the lore of Arthurian legends and stuff like that. And then it just kind of tripped over itself at the ending. And it's not a bad ending, but it stumbles to an end. You know, it's like it's been drinking all night, ready to go, and it just kind of stumbles over the threshold and sleeps in the doorway.
Yeah, I can agree with that, and all of the cheesy medieval type one-liners that they were throwing back and forth during that battle. I had a good time with it, but I do agree it felt like, we're finally here. We don't have to write anymore. Here's your last issue. Take it and leave. But they did leave it, it seems like, open to do more with this, which could be a good or bad thing, I suppose. This has definitely been a fun Red Sonja series. So it's definitely worth the read, but I find it interesting how you can do all of this build up and then you just decide in the last issue, it's like, all right, guys, later. So That's kind of my thoughts. But for being one of the few Red Sonja books I've read, I actually had quite a bit of fun with this.
Yeah. It's almost like an Irish exit where your neighbor or your best friend has to come up and explain why you left.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than the Midwest exit, Dan. No, the Midwest exit is where you say, well, I think we should leave, and then you stand around and talk for 3 more hours. So
that's true.
Well, once again, let me bring a little more positivity. Just a little
You
bit.
need to be wearing a Superman. Well, you are wearing a Superman hat, so that works. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get like a graphic that just kind of glows around Jay when he starts
well, so I'll let Jay. I'm gonna jump on top of Jay here, and do mine because I liked the end of this book. I liked the way this book ended. I thought they had told all the story they needed to tell, and why string out the ending? Just wrap it up and move on. Do I think it's dumb to make Red Sonja King Arthur at the end because she pulled the sword from the tree or whatever? Yes. But J.D. Smith, digital artist, he didn't get booted from his old movie. He was never hired for his own movie.
Oh,
Right.
That was good though.
So, anyway, right. So I thought that was maybe a little dumb, but I'm happy with the way it wrapped up. I'm happy with the way the story ended. I like talkie shirt Red Sonja as opposed to 75 different Red Sonjas we've had to deal with this year, in the last year. So I like the way this ended. I thought it was a good issue. The only thing I would have changed is, she gets the sword, she kills the guy, and they're like, now you're the head person. And she's like, yeah, screw that, and just throws the sword away. Right? I thought you could have done something like that, but
yeah. So
or put it back. That
right.
would be
true.
And then you can have that sword in the stone moment. Anybody can pull the sword once it's been pulled.
So I love the opening of this book because Sonja catches the villain monologuing and just pulls a Star Wars on him. I love that part. Like the opening pages, that really got me. I really like that. It does feel like, at least for the digital copy, and this took me out for just a minute, but it feels like there was a page that was out of place. Because I read the next thing and I was like, wait a second, we haven't even gotten to that part yet. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but there's a page that just felt like should have been lower down, but it was right there. Could have just been me though. But at any rate, this to me has been a very good Sonja Arthurian tale, and probably one of the better Red Sonja books we've read. And I got to say that the final panel in this is one of the coolest shots I've seen in a book. I really like that last panel. But yeah, overall, I liked it.
Oh yeah, art-wise, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant.
Although, guys, look at her left hand
Mm-hmm.
on the cover. J.D. Smith is pointing out. Where's the blade?
Yeah, I got nothing, man.
I like this comment above that he's referred to as Instagram Sonja.
Well, I noticed that too, and I was looking at the cover. I'm like, just the right amount of the chainmail is missing to show like some arm musculature and some underboob.
Yeah.
Like,
Where's the pinky on that dagger?
I liked Linsner's cover, actually. That was the good one on this one.
Linsner's cover was really good, but that's like Red Sonja after the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, like her just sitting on a bench somewhere. The cover for me that I thought was really good is the cosplay cover that they did.
Oh, Gracie the cosplay lass.
Gracie the cosplay lass was really good, and that was really the only cover. I bought the Linsner and I bought the cosplay cover for this. So, all right, Purgatory Must Die, number 2. I thought she died in the first one, so I was unprepared for the second one.
Oh, just like with the first one, this is like Dynamiters Assemble. Uh, I thought it was pretty good. The little trick Purgatory pulls, I think, is smart. I thought it was a smart ploy. Um, there were definitely some funny parts, some gory parts. And seeing all the characters in this book, I don't. I think it's safe to say that eventually we're just going to have a big everybody come together moment just to tackle Purgatory. Some of the folks that they pulled for this book were kind of impressive to me. Like I haven't seen one of the characters in a book for a long time. Uh, it I will say this about the art though. This is my main issue with this. Uh, some of the art in places looks a little too digital. If that makes any sense. Uh, but overall, not a bad book. I'm excited for the next issue, see where they're going to go.
To answer JD's question, yeah, this is Purgatory from Chaos Comics. Dynamite now owns all of the Chaos Comics characters other than Lady Death, which didn't come along with that package. And Brian Pulido still owns her. This is the third miniseries from Ray Fox, who's been doing all the Purgatory miniseries of late. And it just continues that story. And it's kind of the end game for the Purgatory stuff. It brings in not only the other Chaos characters, but it also brings in the Vampyverse characters of Nyx and Vampirella and Draculina. So it is kind of a neat way to pull all the women of Dynamite together. They also have Evil Ernie in here. So from that point of view, I think it's really cool. I do like the trick she pulls, and I don't want to say what it is, but it is kind of a neat little bait and switch setup. I'm just really curious to see where this is going to, what the crescendo of this is going to be. No, Ed, I think this one was tentacle free, so we were okay. Kyle bait it through. Yeah. By the way, if you are looking into the history of Purgatory, there is a novel that Dynamite put out a couple years back called Purgatory Chaos Rising. It's available on Amazon, and it's basically the origin story of Purgatory, and it's written by me. So you can check that out on Amazon.
Nice.
So to add on to what Jay said, and JD Smith asked, like, too digital, there are parts of this book where if it had been drawn, and I'm not saying it wasn't drawn by hand or any of that kind of stuff, if it had been drawn and inked like the art behind me, you would see more imperfection than you see in it. It almost looks too clean for what's being presented. The light source is too perfect. It's that thing that, this is something where they use the tools in 3D Studio Paint or Procreate or whatever tool they were using Illustrator or Photoshop, whatever, to assist here. And as such, it's noticeable that thing is too perfect to have been drawn by human hands. And there's nothing wrong with that. We see that a lot in comics. Like, there's nothing wrong, but sometimes it can take you out of the story a little bit. I got a book from somebody who wants to come on one of our shows to promote their Kickstarter where I went, this is all too, I could tell this is too digital for me. That said, story-wise, felt a lot like issue 1 for me. Felt a lot like, all right, we're just going to get, the Dynamite family reunion. I just expect, I can't wait for the drunk uncle that is, I can't even think of who it would be, to show up at the family reunion and make everybody uncomfortable.
See, I thought it was Ernie. I thought he was already there.
Yeah.
And maybe it is Ernie.
He is
but this is in Purgatory for the history of purgatory has been a character that I would say, if you ask me, I would say is not for me.
Have you read the origin story of purgatory?
I actually
No, but again, John, you're gonna get us all in trouble, and I love it. Historically, though, I've struggled with purgatory. I think this is a fun story because of all the people who are in it with purgatory, and I think that's what the strong part of this book is, and what's making it super entertaining.
Pretty much, yeah. Dan, I think I might have number one of that whole thing sitting here somewhere. I'm almost positive. I know I have a purgatory book.
Well, that's actually a novel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like,
yeah.
I feel like I have a number one that was almost like an origin story ever though, is what it felt like. Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same mode as everybody. The group of people in here make this as entertaining as it is, but Purgatory's arrogance is almost hilarious. Like, she's not worried about anything, it seems like, at this point. And she shows that by just sitting there doing her little thing, preparing for what was a really good, I'll call it fake out that she does. And then to be where they were at the, to be where they were at the end of it, I thought was pretty interesting. Like, I'm almost as curious about her little side character assistant dude as I am as her, just to see where he fits into this entire thing as well.
all right. Dan, was the Purgatory book you wrote available as an audiobook?
It's supposed to be, but it's the one we could never get to upload properly.
Is it Dan doing the audio though?
No.
Then
I actually hired some actors from from this area to do, and we have a female. You don't want me reading Purgatory.
Yes, I do. Read me the phone book, Dan.
Look, I just finished a really great book and a really great audio book, and I'm halfway through my next one, and I'm gonna come into that spot where I'm out of books to read. So if it was an audiobook, by the way, if you're looking for an audiobook, check out Shaft by Dynamite Books on Audible.
Yep, that's read by a good friend of mine, Will, and he's a good actor as well. It's a neat little group of actors that I hooked up with. We do table reads out here, where we take old comics, movie scripts that never got made, and we perform them. We sit at a table and we at a comic store and we read them, and it was sound effects and stuff like that. They're supposed to be recorded and online. I haven't figured out where they are yet. I need to get a hold of Adam, but they're directed by Adam Marcus, who was the director of Jason Goes to Hell and one of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
And didn't he do the Christmas?
Yes, he does the Christmas movie, Secret Santa, that I always talk about.
Yeah.
And a lot of the actors from that are the ones who did the readings for Dynamite. So the Vampirella books have that. The SEAL Team 6 books have narrations. Like I said, the Purgatory one has one, but we were never successfully able to get it uploaded. Just a lot of computer problems, but yeah. They're also digital and in print. So,
all right, Dan was meant to read it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Before we go on with our books, Dan, what are we talking about the rest of the week on the Dan Wickline Show?
Tomorrow we are going to talk about Critical Role. So Kyle will be on with me. Kyle's like, "Am I?"
I have to finish the last episode. I watched the cold open for episode 6 and was like, you know what? I need to take a break.
And we're going to talk about at least the first episode of Poker Face from Ryan Johnson on Peacock. I've gotten through the first one, and it is something special. If Kyle doesn't like it, you know it's good.
Well, I just don't like Ryan Johnson because he spells his name wrong.
That's what I mean. Kyle's got all these weird little...
I love Natasha Lyonne. I'm very excited to watch it. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
But I can't stand the way Ryan Johnson spells his first name.
But yeah, well, if you get a chance, watch it overnight, and then we can talk about that tomorrow too. And then Friday or on Thursday, most likely we'll talk about the Bad Batch and whatever news else comes up.
I have to say, it might be a minute for me to get to Poker Face, only because thanks to Jay, I'm now watching Stupid Shameless.
Yeah, but Shameless will be around. Just get Poker Face. We can talk about it tomorrow. Dude, it's like
I'll try.
It is so 70s. You expect the episode to be called A Trout in the Milk.
Well, I also started that 90s show.
Jesus. There are some things wrong with you.
Well, I needed a sitcom. I needed something lighthearted. And I made every mistake in the book. All right, Jay and Sean, what's happening at the Triangle of Truth?
Well, tomorrow will probably be me talking about Star Trek, that the Ben Sisko story that we read #1 of a couple of months back. About halfway through, I just thought I'd share my thoughts on it, what I thought about it. And then Friday, I'm hoping to put something up where I talk about all of the comic movies that are on the slate for this year and where I'm going to rank them as far as whether I think I'll see them in theaters, wait for streaming, or I might get to them eventually. Just kind of what I think of those and put my thoughts out there on them.
As I told you, everything is answer 3.
And the last thing is, we are 17 views away from our first 1,000 viewed video that Sean did about the best comics of 2022. Big milestone for us.
Nice. Here on The Experience, I'm sure Dan and I will continue to poke fun at James Gunn and the things he's announcing. But I wanted to mention that tomorrow you have the Rex and John Comic Collectibles show. You have Pop Go the Writers, which is already scheduled, so Dan doesn't have to yell at me tonight. You have Wednesday Warriors, and you have Kicking It with Henri. And then Thursday, we have another full day. Like, guys, The Experience is getting more and more shows. We're spinning up more and more shows. We have a new show, hopefully starting soon, from Chuck Pino.
Ooh,
and several others that we're working on. So just make sure you're hitting subscribe, you're hitting follow everywhere, you're clicking the bell so you get the notifications. So when Dan and I go live at 12:57 my time, because the James Gunn news dropped 3 hours earlier than we expected, like, you get notified.
Yes.
How could we poke fun at Will Wheaton regarding Damian Wayne? You can poke fun at Will Wheaton in any number of ways, all of which are outlined by Sheldon Cooper in the comedic tour de force that is those 3 episodes of The Big Bang Theory that are funny. So we'll leave that up to them. All right.
Have we greenlit the show where we just watch Jim Beard build a puzzle for an hour?
No.
But crocheting with Dan coming soon, maybe.
However, yeah, just Dan crochet ASMR on The Experience, maybe. Jim Beard building a puzzle ASMR on The Experience, probably. Although I imagine, knowing Jim like I do, on occasion it's this piece doesn't fit, and then move on. So, all right, back to the books. Where Monsters Lie, #1 by Kyle Starks.
Oh my goodness.
I like this a lot more than I expected.
So we're all in agreement. Book of the week.
It reminds me a little bit of what Matt Hawkins was doing with Postal, which is the small town where all the criminals live, and the FBI put them there, and they did something like that in the Jennifer Blood series. But this is, I almost don't want to say what it is, but there's a whole bunch of serial killers on the cover.
And their names are hysterical.
Oh, they are. They are. Especially the guy with the stuffed animal on his head.
Yep.
It's one of my notes.
Yeah. So, but basically, it's a community of serial killers, and It is hilarious. It is one of the most twisted things I've read in a long time. Peter Kowalski's art is great. Kyle Stark's writing. I mean, this really stood out to me. And yeah, maybe it is book of the week. I hadn't tried to, but yeah, I think it is. And again, it was so out of the left field for me. I never heard about the book. I just put it on there because, oh, Dark Horse has a new #1, add it to the list. Love this thing. It is so twisted.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I want this to be a movie or a television series.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's like if a whole town of Dexters were there, and also like if it's a True Detective met Hannibal or something. Like, it's got all of these elements that are going for it that just lend itself to being a cinematic thing.
Yeah.
Kyle Starks does a great job. The art inside is great. The only thing for me that was a little bit of a knock on the book is that it feels like it ends very abruptly for an issue. Like it's certainly setting up the next issue, but it's very clear where it's headed, and then it just ends abruptly.
And let me go ahead and answer, Ed. Yes, my friend, I think this is definitely up your alley.
Yeah, Ed, it definitely is.
Yes.
There's no it's not a naughty book, but it is a
This
there's
is twisted humor.
yeah, there's a bunch of gore, so I think you'll like it.
Oh, it's twisted humor turned up to 10.
Yeah.
Zell is going to be by far one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just for what she is and what she has to do. She's going to be hilarious.
Did anybody else hear Zell with Estelle Getty's voice?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Or Betty White's. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Especially Betty White when she would kind of go postal and drop the F-bombs and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Though now that Betty White has passed, I think Olympia Dukakis could play her.
Well, the other person I was thinking is literally any of the women that are in 80 for Brady.
Oh, Lily Tomlin would be
Lily
great.
Tomlin would be great.
Yes.
This series is going to be so good. I hope that issue 2 continues with everything that issue 1 was, but then just pushes the story forward. The ending definitely was kind of like, all right, that's where you kind of want to put it, but okay, I can see it leaves you at least at a decent point coming into the book to see what they're going to do and what kind of mind they have in Zell, especially since she's kind of the community leader. But and I found the banter back and forth between her and the old man hysterical. Just that was hysterical. Just that's where you draw the line with all the gore in this book, but that is what bugs you. Pardon the pun.
Yeah. I have to say, by the way, I can totally see a clown with a flamethrower.
Yes.
I'm
Right.
fine with a clown with a flamethrower.
Yes.
Oh, 100%. I don't see any issues with that.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it just soon as you open it, we're given 8 names. One of these names is definitely not like the others. I want to know more about that name and how he got that name. This book is so good, though. It's so good. If you're a horror fan, or if you've ever seen that movie Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, it's kind of like a horror sitcom. Oh man, like you really need to jump on this book. It was a razor thin choice for my pick of the week. Like if you layered my picks of the week on top of each other, it's like they're so close. This one was so good. It was that thing that came out of left field. So yes, please, if this seems interesting to you at all, folks, jump on this one.
You know what it kind of reminds me of?
Hmm.
Tucker and Dale.
Yes.
Yeah. So definitely check it out. All right. Next up, Minor Threats #4.
Yes.
This wrapped up differently than I expected.
Yes.
I thought it was clever. I thought it was an interesting setup, and I do like the fact that it is out there to go more. because I do like the characters. But yeah, it was a little left field on the ending there. Didn't see that coming, but I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And Stickman as the name of a villain is better than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we finally got him and to see him,
Oh my goodness.
he was actually really brilliant. I was like, dang, I really actually want more of him. In a way, I hope if they ever do a follow up to this, it's maybe more of a prequel where you can see more of how he torments the hero and everything. Because the way he did everything in this book was brilliant, up until the point that what happened with him. And then to see what is it? Where's my notes? The main character, I forget the name of the character.
Playtime.
Yes,
Is it Playtime?
yeah, to see where she ends up at the end of the book and how her character arc was throughout the whole story is nice to see. So, but this was a lot of fun. I came into it halfway through the series initially, and then so I went back to try to get caught up because issue 3 was just so good, and then this was about as good a closing to a story as you could do. Like, if they never touch it again, that's fine, but they left it open to do a lot.
Yeah.
For
Patton
me,
Oswalt. Go ahead.
For me, I didn't think I would like this book at first. Then I really liked this book. And then the last issue proved to me why I liked this book. This issue to me is like, okay, this thing you like is over. It's satisfactory the way it wraps up. It's not what you expect, but it's satisfactory. So if there is no second volume or second story arc, not going to be angry. If they do another one, not going to be super excited. I'm just going to be, kind of accepting of it, I guess. I wish it would have ended on a more... I don't even know what the word is that I'm looking for. I wish the ending would have either left me wanting more by leaving me on a cliffhanger, or just sewed everything up and just said, we're done. Instead of leaving it open for more. Like, either leave it all the way open and tell me I'm getting more, or finish it off. Don't leave it kind of in the middle so that I'm in limbo. That's my big knock.
Well, I'm going to be opposite on part of this from y'all. Just on part of this. Because I need more. I love this series. I thought the ending was perfect. It's twisty, turny, action-packed. Patton Oswalt and team, just kudos to y'all. Now I really want Patton Oswalt and David DeSmalchin to write a book together. I think that'd be amazing.
Ooh.
I cannot wait till this gets traded because I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna read it again. This was just an awesome. I didn't know going into this that I was gonna like this book as much as I do, but it held me the whole time. So I want more. I'm excited for more. Give me more now, please.
So what you're saying is your hammer wants more.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
much more.
Where Kyle, on the other hand, is in the just take it category.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
All right. Young Hellboy, Assault on Castle Death, number 4.
This was so good. This was so good. I had way too much fun reading this. I laughed out loud many a times. This is everything that you can hope for in a cheesy hero comic book type deal. It had a very Batman, Adam West kind of feel to it with how cheesy the lines were and everything, and the banter back and forth between Lobster and Scarlet Crab, as he calls them.
Yeah.
It was absolutely great. I am like I said, I still haven't read a bad Hellboy book yet. Everything I've read has been really good, and this is probably my favorite one so far out of everything I've read.
I'm a huge Lobster Johnson fan. I just love the character, and I do like the fact that Professor Broom doesn't believe he existed, which is hilarious to me. The guy that deals with monsters is a little off on the fact that there's this urban legend. But I thought it was a good wrap up to the series. I like how the guy who's helping Hellboy out kind of ties into the Lobster Johnson story, and the ambiguous way it ends. But yeah, this is just a fun series, and I always love seeing Hellboy as a baby or as a little tyke, because it's just always fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about this one, but it's been too long. This was a great story. I was excited when I saw this. Uh, I could read a ton more Young Hellboy. This story in particular was just it was fun. You know the fever dream, Hellboy really not seeing the real danger that he's in, but it playing off as like an old, well, let's face it, Batman 66 cartoon just with Lobster Johnson instead. Uh, and then there was the question of Lobster Johnson being real. And I think Sam answers it. I think Sam has the answer to it, but what a great book. Like these Hellboy books have just been so great.
It's not my favorite Hellboy, but it's certainly not my least favorite Hellboy. It was a solid, campy, fun Hellboy story. Nothing offensive about it. Nothing nothing groundbreaking, but nothing offensive. It was just a solid book. And in a world where so many of the books we get are either really good or really bad, a double up the middle, which is what this was, is super refreshing, especially from a character that we see so much from. When this launched, there was a lot of stuff happening in the Hellboy universe. And so to have it all kind of come in and just being solid, good, fitting Hellboy is about as much as you can ask. And I really enjoyed this series as well. Shout out to Mike Mignola and Tom Snagowski on that one. All right. Last up, Tales of Nottingham #1. We're returning to the world where the Sheriff of Nottingham, not a great guy, but also neither is Robin Hood.
No. I'll go first because I've been a huge fan of the Nottingham series, and I really like this one. Any stories we can get from this world is a win for me. But I can also see it not being people's jam. Like I can totally understand it not being people's jam. But like I said, it worked for me. And it's weird for me to say this, but I kind of hope that these tales from Nottingham don't have like a big overarching story. It's mainly just here's a tale about this group of folks, then here's a tale about this one, and they don't ever really connect or anything. The only connecting tissue is they're in the world of Nottingham. Like I said, I dug this one. So
Go ahead, Sean.
I'm actually still trying to process what I thought of this one. I literally finished this probably 10 minutes before we came on the air. I didn't dislike it. It was definitely a good book. I like the idea that it's set in the world of Nottingham, but it's its own thing in a way. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it. Art wise, it was great to look at. I love everything about the Nottingham universe and the way they do the art. So it's definitely worth a pickup, I think, and to check it out. But I can't tell you whether I liked it or if I disliked it. Although, well, I didn't dislike it, definitely. I just don't know how much I liked it. And like I said, I'm still kind of trying to figure out where I'm at with it. So, to be discussed later, probably with Jay.
You can go ahead and hashtag that, sir. Hashtag not that bad.
Hashtag not that bad.
I didn't read it. Ran out of time.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Nottingham fan anyway, so.
The note I have on it is the art. I just kind of had to skim it because, like Dan said, we kind of were running out of time. Dan and I have been on the air a lot of hours already today. Shane Connery Volk, who does the art, does a really good job of kind of capturing the grittiness that the stories tell in this book. And because of that, it really has turned into one of my favorites to read. I'm going to spend some more time with this book again tonight or tomorrow as time permits to really get down and read it. But I love this series and I like these two guys. And just if you're out there watching and you're like, how do I make comics? How do I make comics? I want to make comics. These guys answered an ad from Mad Cave for a talent search. And the result is maybe the most successful book Mad Cave has ever published. So if you're into it, just start making stuff, start writing stuff. And when you see these companies looking for doing talent searches, doing open calls, send something in and see what happens. Because you never know when you're sitting on the next Nottingham.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Sounds painful.
I mean, only if you're sitting on Little John. I mean, that's like a quadruple entendre.
It is.
You could tell we've been on the air because I didn't intend that to be a quadruple entendre, but I just went with it. All right, so I just want to remind everybody that this show, as always, is brought to you by Comic Shop Locator. Head in to your local comic shop and pick up these books or other books that you might be interested in from them. To find a comic shop near you, head over to comicshoplocator.com. Comicshoplocator.com and seek out a comic shop nearby to you. From you guys not pointing in the right direction is ruining my flow.
I did. That's the right direction.
No, you're pointing to the comments, Jay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, my camera I'm pointing towards them. So
We're done.
I don't care.
We give up.
Anyway, Comic Shop Locator. Type in the area code where you are and it'll tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. We'll see everybody next time on In Stores this week. Bye, everybody. Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all